Hey y'all, it's your girl Coach Kinsley. Today we're going to talk about habits.
Those are some things that I had to learn over the years, and I am ready to learn more.
All right.
It's Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley. I'm producer Mike, former client of Coach Kinsley's, senior editor for the podcast, who pushes through every set until I hear
3, 2, 1, let's go! Remember to always consult your physician before starting any nutrition or fitness regimen. Habit or habits, they create our future. Not just today, they create the rest of our lives moving forward. So let's define it first. A habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up.
It's hard to give up. That is a good way to phrase that because until you get to that point, I don't think it's really a habit. I think it's something you're trying. Get me to the habit, coach, because that's what I want to know. Because for a very long time, to me, it was almost like a blind faith that what I was doing was going to get me where I wanted to go. Eventually, as I kept doing it, it turned into a habit. I kind of want to hear that process because I think I just kind of stumbled into it as opposed to doing it. But I guess that's the point of a habit, right? You just keep doing it until it's hard to give up, like you said.
Right. I'm so glad that is in the definition of a habit, one that is hard to give up. And I would disagree with you. I don't think you stumbled into it. Getting a personal trainer was you building the routine, was you building the habit. And now it's locked in. You saw that what you were doing wasn't going to get you where you needed to be. So you called in some reinforcements. Me, in that case. You definitely didn't stumble into it. It took a lot of intention and it took some investment.
Yeah, I will say that about the intention part. I guess I didn't even think about it at the time as a habit, just because I just kept doing it and doing it. I knew that if I didn't do it, coach, that my health would be in serious trouble because it already was. The habit sort of came to me out of necessity and the love of life. I want to say that I knew that I had to go 100% into it. And I guess as I did that, I started collecting those habits along the way.
I love that you highlighted the reason. And to want to live longer, to want to be around, those are some huge, huge reasons. For the listeners that haven't listened to Mike's story, you had a friend that you lost because they didn't take their health serious. Your doctor told you need to take your health more seriously, right?
Yeah, it was not only my doctor saying that, it were diagnoses that I had collected along the way, being overweight, not eating correctly, not exercising, and ignoring the signs that those are bad things happening to me and just thinking, oh, I'm just out of breath. Oh, that's okay. Oh, that cut will heal. It'll be fine. I'll be okay. Just ignoring all of it until my doctor was like, you can't ignore it any longer. And I had to go through some procedures, let's say, that told me that that was just a stopgap and that if I wanted to continue to be around and to bug my family like I love to do, I needed to do just more than just do the stopgap measures. I need to take charge of it. And that's really just what kept me going and going and going. I suddenly realized that I had a habit and that I had done that and that Coach Kinsley had taken that habit and began stacking it with other habits.
Yes, so all this to highlight that your why you were doing it was huge. Your reason for changing your habit was bigger than the habit itself. And that's the point where you need to get to change a habit. And I feel like a lot of people, when they change a habit, they don't dive into the why enough. They just hang out at the surface level. What do they want to change rather than jumping to the why? I like to think of changing a habit in 3 circles: a small circle, a medium circle, and the big circle, all around each other. The small one in the center is your why. The one right outside is your how. And the one on the outside, the surface level, that is your what. So what do you want to change? Is a very easy place for all of us to get. Lose 10 pounds. That's what you want to do. Many of us get kind of caught up in the how. How do I do that? Maybe you scroll on Instagram, find some fad diet, try it out, it's not really working. Or maybe you get a personal trainer and you guys are doing great for that 4 week package that you got. But then maybe you don't sign up for it after that 4 weeks again. and now you're still in the same place you were. What gets someone to continue after that 4 week package is the why. Why are you there? You're not there to just have some fun for 4 weeks. You are there to change your life. You are there to make your life longer, to make your life easier. Even though that 1 hour or 30 minutes in the gym with your trainer feels harder, it is for the sake of making the life outside of here easier. Even something as small as grabbing grocery bags from your car into your house, it will be easier because you took that time out. Your why. And that's very, very small why, but a lot of us have bigger whys than that. Mike, your why, huge. And a lot of people don't know it about me, but heart disease runs in my family. And I always think to myself, if I let up, if I become lazy, if I don't keep that in the forefront, that heart disease is just waiting for me to mess up. It's just waiting for me to slow down. So my why, even though it doesn't look like it from the outside, my why is huge as well. My why is to stay around here longer.
And if I recall, Coach, one of our episodes we did previously was you living to 100 and beyond.
Yes, sir.
And I hear that. The why for me, I think, is the same. People talk about intention. And what is your intention? My intention wasn't to lose 20 pounds or deadlift my body weight. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to improve my quality of life. That wasn't going to be a goal that I just get there and then I'm like, oh, well, I must be good now. My why, my intention is to continue to train to improve my quality of life. And coach, I can't give you enough credit on what you did while we were training. The advice you give and the motivation you give comes from, I think, your why as well. You understand where my why came from. We were both working towards the same thing, and you weren't giving me a fake goal. Like, we're going to, do lateral raises and I'm going to get this V cut in your back and then you'll be good, which is what I've heard in the past from other trainers.
Mm.
You knew exactly why I was training. That was a huge thing too. So my intention, you understood my intention. And when your intention is to improve your quality of life, then you're open to all sorts of different exercises.
Exercises that have real life application, some functional training, and one we've talked about a lot more recently, mobility. These are things that are really going to improve your quality of life. And no matter why you're training, these things are really going to help you live longer.
And that was what kept my habits going. That's why I don't want to give up. And I think you've said this before, coach, that it feels worse to skip the habit, or how do you say that?
You're going to pay for your health one way or the other. So you're either depositing in the now to make the future better, or you're going to pay for a band aid, a very big hospital bill size band aid later. And I'm so grateful for our thousands and thousands of listeners that you all are here trying to find the how and maybe today finding the why for yourself. So, just to recap, you have your why, which is the most important. If you haven't already found your why, maybe take some time today to write it down and really get deep with yourself and start the week off right. And then the how, maybe that's why you're here, listening to the Fitness Fix, finding little tips and tricks about habits, about nutrition, about fitness, about lifestyle. And the what? I'm sure you already have a what, and that's what brought you here, right? So I'm so grateful for all of our listeners. I'm grateful for you, Mike, and so grateful to still be around and able to do this.
Yeah, coach, you're not the only one that's grateful. I very much appreciate your willingness to share your expertise with everybody and still drag me along every now and then when I send you a question or something. You're always willing to help an old friend out, to keep me going, to keep me on my habit stacking and keep on my trail, even though sometimes every now and then I think, oh, maybe I'll skip today.
I got you.
By the end of the day, I feel guilty. I feel bad. I think part of that is that sort of endorphin kick that I get after I work out. I kind of miss that. That little kick I miss. And so that habit, I get right back into the next day. I make sure that I make time for it. You make time for what's the most important in your life. Me being around is most important to me. And, hopefully it's
Yes.
important to my friends and family at some point. And I'm sure it is. But I like to kid around a bit like that because it kind of reinforces my own motivation to keep going. And that's part of habit stacking. That's part of creating those habits.
I'm glad that you brought up how you need to make time for the things that you care about. That's important, and that's definitely one way that works for a lot of different people when it comes to building the habit of working out, is at the same time every single day. Why that works so well is because your habits are made because there is a cue, and that cue equals your routine, and your routine gives you a reward. Put into very simple terms, so, if you have the same time you are working out every single day, 6 a.m., that's your cue to do your routine, to work out. And what's your reward? Short term, the endorphins. And then long term will be a healthier life. So, cue, routine, and reward. And unfortunately, these three also apply to bad habits. And I think that's where a lot of us struggle, is that your bad habits still have a cue, routine, and reward.
Ah.
Some bad habits, we've talked about stress before in our intro to cortisol. I would suggest taking a listen if you haven't. So, some of us, our cue is stress, for example, and the routine is where we mess up. Our routine might be going out and drinking, it might be having a sweet treat. That's the routine. And the routine happens because you have that temporary reward, that relief at the end.
So one of the things that I had to unhabit myself of the bad habit coach, back in the day, I would be a big time diet soda drinker, and those are like sweeter than regular soda. And so I'd have that. And then of course I'd have to have something salty to kind of balance it out. And then I'd have something sweet again. So suddenly, I have a 0 calorie diet Coke, but I have like, 800 calories in snacks, all because it started with that diet Coke. Once I sort of kicked that habit, I did not have that problem anymore. And instead, now it's protein. It's going to be a protein drink. It's going to be something that's going to prep me for my workout. My cue is lunch. Since the past 8 weeks or so, I've had to change up my lunch routine because trainer Alex hasn't been available. And so I've been going to the mornings and, really early morning for me, like, 8 o'clock, so early. I tried it and it didn't really work for me. So now I'm going to go on my own at lunch, like I used to do, until next semester when I can get back to working out with trainer Alex again at lunch, because that's my cue. After trying it another way, it just turns out that's what works best for me. And that's my habit.
Right. And that is a fine cue to keep because your routine, working out, leads to the reward, short term and long term, that you want. So, good habits and bad habits work the same way: cue, routine, and reward. And we've thrown the term habit stacking out there a few times. So I just want to break that down one more time if you haven't heard us break it down in the past. When I say habit stacking, it is taking a cue that you already have and changing the routine part. This is a great way to take good habits and make them better, or even to change bad habits. For example, your cue, it's lunchtime. And you already have the routine of working out. So, what we did in Mike's case is we took that routine and we didn't just work out, we also had protein. So, we have it stacked. We have the same cue, and now we have two routines, two actions that give us an even bigger reward at the end. And it doesn't all need to be related. Some cue, routine, and rewards that I've done for my clients in the past have been like for clients that work on a computer all day, their cue is they get an email because they get so many emails anyways. Their routine, instead of only answer the email, their routine is now answer the email, take a sip of water. The reward, they completed their work and they're hydrated.
100% coach. That's a good one. I hadn't heard that one before. And that is one I am going to take with me because I do hydrate. I don't quite hydrate like that, but that is a great idea. That then reminds me to always have a big cup of water sitting by my workstation all the time. Or when I'm WFHing it, working from home, then I have that by my computer at home. So, and if it's empty, well, then I go fill it again. Then that becomes a habit.
Right. And now maybe you're getting more steps in. The reward is great.
It's all connected, isn't it, coach? Habit stacking, habit building, quality of life.
And habit breaking.
Oh, habit breaking. You're going to tell us about habit breaking?
Well, it's the same idea here. Back to cue, routine, reward. I mentioned that some people have the cue of stress that leads them to drinking or eating sugar, and then they have the reward of temporary relief. Well, a good way to change this would be same cue, we're all going to deal with stress, but the routine instead could be working out. And I know are people that take 2 hours in the gym. You're like, I don't have 2 hours to work out every time I'm stressed. You can make it smaller. You can make it smaller. You know, your routine instead could be 5 burpees. Okay, I won't be crazy. Your routine instead could be 10 squats. Every time you're stressed, 10 squats. Your legs are gonna look great. So that's a reward right there. But also, again, you get those endorphins going, and your stress is not only mental, it's physiological, right? When you're stressed, you have other hormones that are being released. A lot of times we've heard this expressed as like fight or flight. So doing those 10 squats is a great way to put that energy somewhere, relieve it somewhere. So your reward is going to be extra blood flow, it's going to be stress relief, and it's going to be endorphins if you find some time to even hit 10 squats or, yes, get a 2 hour workout. But maybe you're feeling more flight and less fight. Maybe take a nap. Just cool it down. And then your reward, you wake up refreshed and maybe in a better headspace to take on that stressful situation. So, just some examples where it's the same cue, but you change your routine and you get a better reward. It's easy to say it like that. It sounds like 1, 2, 3. It's not going to stick unless you do it consistently every time that you feel stress. You can't go back to that same routine of drinking or eating a snack. And some people, instead of saying cue, routine, reward, they might say trigger, routine, reward. Trigger might be a good way for you to learn your habits a little better. So some triggers we mentioned for Mike's situation is time. Lunchtime is his trigger or his cue to go work out and have his protein because we have it stacked. But your trigger could be location. It could be even the people around you. And that's the one I want to talk about. Surrounding yourself by people who support your why, support your how and your what will really, really benefit your habits and therefore benefit your future. You have to surround yourself with people who believe in you and hopefully have similar mindset and a similar mission as you do. So a lot of us have different friend groups for different things. You might have the group you go drinking with, the group you do the tailgate with. That's almost the same group. For me, I have the group I run with. I have the group I do salsa with. I have the group I go to church with. I met the salsa people through the running people. And guess what? Some of the salsa people invited me to go play tennis. Now I got tennis people. And my church people, when we hang out, guess where it's at, Mike?
Church?
Okay. When we hang out and we are not going to church, guess where we hang out?
I'm going to go with a bar.
No, the gym.
Oh, so I was totally wrong.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I have surrounded myself with active people. All
Oh,
these are connected with the same mindset of we want to move and we want to elevate ourselves. Yes, some of it is elevating a skill. Some of it is elevating our cardiovascular health. Some of it is elevating our muscular strength. And some of it is elevating ourselves spiritually. And now I'm strong enough in my fitness and nutrition to where I can also help elevate these people. So the people that I have met that we're trying to elevate spiritually, guess what? When we hang out, boom, we're also elevating physically. That's what I mean by surrounding yourself with people that are going to be in the same mission and the same mindset. The mission of every single one of these groups that I hang out with and that I spend my time with is to elevate. It's not for temporary relief. It's not boring. That's the crazy thing. It is not boring. It is so much fun and it is so inspiring to be around these people and to let them be around me.
Coach, I bet you can smack the crap out of a tennis ball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not when the ground's smacking me. So, shout out to my tennis people out there. I took a pretty bad fall the first time that we played. It's a good life when you're surrounded by people that give you a cue or a trigger to do a little better.
That's an interesting way to frame that, Coach, because from my point of view or for my situation, I have people who are supportive, but they're not active. But I also think that has to do with age at my part, how I fit fitness and nutrition in my life, instead of finding others who are like that, and you get to a certain age and a certain amount of responsibility. And from my point of view, make it a priority, fitness in my life. And so not everybody in my life is about fitness. In fact, not very many people are in my life are about fitness. So that's really where, for me, habits were super important to keep up because it was me. I won't say it was all me. I was motivated by my family. I was motivated by my health. The habits I built on my own and I kept on my own and will continue to do on my own. For me, that works.
Yes, and it can work. And this thing that you're doing here, that you started here, these habits that you formed based off your very strong why, now you can be that strong anchor, hopefully pulling the people in your community to do the same, to find their why, to figure out their how with the thanks of the Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley. And they already have their what.
I hope so. And I will say, Coach, that when we started this gig right here, I wanted to do that for others. And so, yeah, that must be built into the motivation I got and the results that I saw. That this fitness fix with Coach Kinsley, and thank goodness you wanted to do this, was my way of maybe building another community of people maybe who are like me that didn't get to surround themselves, that had to put fitness in their life as opposed to opening their life to fitness, maybe because of age, because of position. Maybe this was my way to reach out to other people who are like me. I am so thankful that you are here to kind of guide these conversations because it's so important.
Yes, we are building a community right here. And if you want to get more involved, you can find me on Instagram at Coach Kinsley, but you can also find us on the private Facebook group, Coach Kinsley, where we can post these motivational and inspirational either successes or starts or questions. You can also send me questions at coach@coachkinsley.com. You can email me.
And if you guys go, you can see some before and after pictures of me. They are shocking, at least when I look at it. I found one the other day. I was like, oh my goodness sakes. Okay, I'm glad I'm here now. And back then, you couldn't have told me any different. I thought I looked fine. Now I feel fine. Doesn't matter how I look, matters how I feel, and that's where I'm going.
I think that's a great ending right there.
Hey, Coach Kinsley, we got any highlights today?
The highlights. Your habits are formed based off of your cue that leads to a routine that leads to a reward. Using this, you can stack good routines or good habits with the same cue. And you can also break habits by knowing your cues or your triggers and changing your routine to get the reward that you want. A good way to stay consistent with your habits is to keep your why in the forefront as you are going through life. Thank you so much for joining us today on Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley. The fun doesn't need to stop here. Email me at coach@coachkinsley.com. You can check out my webpage, coachkinsley.com, and also find me on Instagram at, you guessed it, Coach Kinsley. Your girl. See you next week. Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley is a production of Greyhawk Enterprise, LLC.